Is some form of UFO disclosure imminent? Is it about to happen like in the next few months? Well, that is the scuttlebutt that's been going around, and some people in the know, multiple people, are saying this is going to happen. So I've talked a little bit about this before, but let's dive into it a little more because we have somebody new chiming in with his information that he has from sources in the know. So let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, let me just read a couple of the comments that various people have been making. Gary Nolan said, some folks will come forward within the next 6 months, and that will change things. He didn't say what things, so but the implication is that something big is coming. Some people are coming forward, and yeah, there's going to be a shift, right? I don't know if that's like the disclosure we're looking for, but it definitely sounds juicy. So, fingers crossed that happens. John Ramirez said disclosure is coming in the next 6 months or the next year. So, he's a former CIA officer who sat in on a UFO briefing years ago. And, he's been making the rounds lately, the last year or so, talking about what he knows or infers about the UFO situation. I don't know how much current information he currently has, or if he has any sources that are still in the CIA or in the intelligence community that would corroborate this, or maybe he simply made friends in ufology since coming out and talking about this. So he said some pretty wild things. So I don't know. But we also have Sean Cahill saying there are going to be UFO pictures coming this summer that are going to be amazing. And I think that the implication is game-changing. And then we have James Fox saying, I've recorded interviews with whistleblowers, and if the government doesn't do the right thing, it's coming out. Yeah, they're talking about contingency plans upon contingency plans is what they have been saying. That if Sean Kirkpatrick and Arrow and Kirsten Gillibrand and Marco Rubio, if they won't do the right thing and come out with this information, that it's coming out anyway. And, I you hear so much, there's always promises that UFO disclosure is right around the corner. This has been going on for decades. It's always, the carrot dangling before us. And is it really coming? Is it going to come this time? Well, I don't know if UFO disclosure is going to come, but it definitely seems like something big is coming. And now we have a new person coming forward, J. Christopher King, who is an experiencer, and he also organizes UFO-related conferences. And he has some contacts by doing this, and they are saying much the same thing to him. So let's find out what he has to say. Here he is.
Just as we start to close out, I want to ask, now, you must have had, yourself and James, private conversations with past guests at these conferences, and I'm not one that's going to ask you to name names and what was said, but if you're comfortable, feel free to name names, what Chris Mellon may have said, what he thinks is going on. But what are those conversations like? And I wonder, from a private point of view, how are those guests giving you an indication how they think things are playing out? The UFO conversation, you're talking to Gary Nolan, Leslie Kane, Ralph Blumenthal, Chris Mellon, and anyone else at those conferences. Mm-hmm. How are you packaging all that together, what's being said, as to how things are going for the UFO conversation?
It's an incredibly exciting time. I mean, from what I know and from what I hear from the people that you just mentioned and others, it's, in organizing these events, you're absolutely right that it's really put me and James in a very unique position in terms of the kind of information that we hear. I was used to that to a degree before with the experiencer group and some of the people that flowed through that community as
Yeah.
well. But it's just taken off even more in an expanded way with these conferences, and it's impossible to ignore that there are so many groups, individuals, and factions that have so many kind of secret plays happening right now, like towards like what's happening this year, this spring, this summer, this fall. And from what I hear, if any two of these situations go down the way that they're planned, it's going to be a real paradigm shift for the public conversation, and there's the possibility for a lot more. So it's interesting because, as opposed to, say, 5 or 10 years ago, I do understand some of the secrecy from the researcher's perspective, from the inside of the researcher's perspective, from inside of our community. A lot of people, they get frustrated because online they'll not get an answer from the Pentagon or something like that, the DoD or whatever, and then they'll go to somebody like Ralph Blumenthal or whatever and ask him, and maybe not, and get more of an answer, but there'll be a point where things start to go vague, or where he doesn't want to speak on the record or something like that, and that's completely understandable. The more that I'm involved in with these situations and speaking with these people relatively frequently, it's kind of like a football game, and you don't ask like a football coach before the Super Bowl, like, so what are the plays that you're going to be doing, in a couple hours here, like, because the other side listens. There are a lot of people that want to block the progress that's been happening these last 5 years, 5.5 years almost, since the December 2017 New York Times article. That was a big game changer, and ever since then, it's like we've been playing a different game than before, and a lot of people want to make sure that they keep their plays kind of on the quiet, on the DL, and until some of these situations come to light. Yeah, it's an exciting time though. There are there are people that are going to be going public over the course of the next months. There are all sorts of wild situations, possibly in DC, possibly in New York, that are going to be coming up, and it's. I think that 2023, like, no BS, like, I kind of hate it when people talk like this, but I really think that this is going to be the biggest paradigm shift year since 2017 for this field.
There you go. Something paradigm shifting is going to occur, according to J. Christopher King, this year. So what does that mean? He says it's going to be the biggest paradigm shift since 2017. And 2017 is what got this muchacho into all the UFO craziness. Before then, I was a skeptic. I was an unbeliever. And, I thought it was kind of fun to think about, but I didn't believe in it. I figured there's aliens up there somewhere in the cosmos. The universe is too big not to have some life in it, but it wasn't here. If it was here, why wasn't it hanging out on the White House lawn, right? So, yeah, so I total non-believer until 2017 happened, and Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon and TTSA released those videos, and that really made me pay attention. And I began my own research into this that, still ongoing, but it wasn't, maybe 6 months begun after I had begun my research that I came to the realization that this was real and this was true. It didn't make any sense. There's so many anomalous features to the phenomenon, but it was real. There was so much corroboration. Once you look into the evidence, it's just overwhelming. And then you go down one rabbit hole after another. Alien abductions, hybrids, Bigfoot. Then you get into the metaphysical stuff. It's just mind-blowing. And, that's where the evidence goes, is that this stuff is real. And it was, much later that I had my own UFO experience, which indeed was more of a metaphysical experience, although I could see the object in the sky. And I need to make a dedicated video about that at some point. I've made a video talking about just the incident itself, but I didn't go into any of the context of that incident. So I should probably do that. But at any rate, all these people are coming forward saying that there are big things coming. There are paradigm changes coming very soon. So, do I think this is going to happen? Well, I think that what J. Christopher King said is right. If any two of these things happen, it's going to be huge. So, will any of those two things happen? Because he also talks about people trying to block this from happening. Who are these people that are trying to block it? Are they the control group? Are we talking about the religious fundamentalists that Lou Elizondo butted heads against in the Pentagon, and that others like Gary Nolan have spoken of? I have no clue who is blocking this. Is it, Mick West? I kid. But, there are definitely enemies to disclosure. That seems to be reality. That has been the reality since the beginning of all of this, since Roswell. Yeah, I mean, the next day they retracted the story and hid the evidence and concocted a BS story. The Men in Black descended on Roswell and shut everybody up. And, so they have been hiding this stuff forever. They've been lying about it forever. That is going to continue until their hand is forced. How can their hand be forced? Well, we've got some great whistleblowers now. And we have whistleblower protections in place. And we have highly motivated individuals who want the people to know the truth. So, will we know the truth? I don't expect UFO disclosure to come in the next few months, but I do expect something big to come within the next year or so. And something that will be a paradigm shifter in the way that 2017 was. So, I don't think it'll be full-on disclosure. There are rumors. I mean, there are prophecies. I mean, that say the real deal is going to come like in 2026, 2027, or thereabouts, and that conforms to the video I made about apocalyptic prophecies that all coincide within the years like 2027 to 2032, like 6 or 7 different apocalyptic prophecies. And remember, apocalyptic also means the beginning of a new world, not the end of everything. So that would be the ascension or some major shift in consciousness in how things are going with humanity, and possibly our relationship with the phenomenon. So who knows? Who knows? Let me know what you think about all this craziness in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think is coming down the pike in 2023? Yeah, and if you've enjoyed this video and gotten anything out of it, please give it a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. And if you could share this video when it drops on social media, that would be super helpful. And there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, so do that at your leisure. And I will see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Roads signing out.